So I'm presenting two videos in TimEtchells, and one of them is called. It's probably the two opposite ends of the spectrum, really, as far as my video practice goes. One of them is quite abstract. It's a video called Fog Game, and it came about. It's effectively a piece of it's a found event that I filmed. We were on holiday on the southwest coast of England quite some years ago, and we walked on a path down towards the beach, and it was incredibly foggy, and on the beach 2 or even 3 groups of people, families and so on, were playing ball games. They were playing rounders. It's a kind of version of baseball, I guess. Baseball's a version of rounders, who knows. But they were playing in the fog, so you could, in many cases, see a few players, but you would also see in the distance players who were almost completely lost in the fog. You could hear the sea, and you could see this amazing scene. And I filmed basically the edge of several games all in one shot. Never the centre of the game, but the sort of moment of overlap between 3 different games. And most of the people who are in the shot are just standing. They're fielding, they're waiting for the ball. And they're just standing. And occasionally somebody will run past them, involved in a game that's sort of happening out of shot. Or occasionally a ball will cross and head off across the beach. But you have this sense of everybody standing in the fog, mostly of waiting, and of some slightly incomprehensible game being played, because actually you can't see enough of the picture to make sense of the game. And although it's a very ordinary scene, something about the combination of the shot and the fog and the beach and these separate games creates something else, something evocative and strange. And it's a loop. It's maybe 10 minutes that I stood at the fence looking down onto the beach, holding the camera and filming this scene. But it's of course very abstract in terms of content. It has a very open, spacious kind of feel to it as a thing. And the other video that I'm showing is probably the opposite in a way. It's called Starfucker, and it's a black screen upon which text is appearing. So there's no image at all, except the images that are made by the text itself. And one of the things that it plays with is, I suppose, how text makes us see things. So the first line of the video is Bruce Willis and Sylvester Stallone sharing a shower. And the great thing about it is that, of course, everybody knows what Bruce Willis looks like, pretty much, I guess, and everybody knows what Sylvester Stallone looks like. And because of that, as soon as you say those names and you put them in a situation, you can see them. So it's a kind of conjuring trick using language, that just those, 7 or 8 words immediately makes a very vivid picture in the mind of the person who's watching. And the video really works with that over a sort of 12, 13 minute period. There's a soundtrack, but what you're watching is an endless parade of movie stars and celebrities in these images, many of which are sexual or violent or slightly degrading or weird. And it's rather as though what I'm doing is I'm dragging them all into something that's like my movie, but without their permission. And there's also constantly in that piece a kind of question about whether what you're watching is meant to be a movie or it's meant to be real life. So it says at a certain point, Tom Cruise on an operating table. You don't know if that's meant to be a fiction, or if, really, Tom Cruise on an operating table. So it's playing with how real are these things. And because none of them are real anyway, because it's only text and it's all happening in your head. So I guess they're very, very different, the two videos, but if I would try to add them together, or speak about them together, I would say they both require a lot of the viewer, in the sense that the fog game video really demands that you read this unreadable situation and spend time in this strange, foggy world of different things that are happening, figures who are lost in the fog. So as a viewer, you're really thrown onto the scene and you have to deal with it. And Starfucker, on the other hand, you're thrown all of this language and you have to make the images. And you have to figure out what they are and what they mean together and so on. So I think for me, they're very different, but they come together in the sense that they demand a very active spectatorship from the viewer.